So it was deGrom's third start of the spring. He now has a .9 ERA down in Florida. So the numbers on the stat sheet look good, but you heard the questions, maybe not on the radar gun. How concerning is Jacob deGrom's velocity?
Well, I was talking to a scout who was at the game today and seen deGrom a few times this spring. The question I asked was, at what point would you get concerned about the velocity? And the answer that I got from the scout was when he stops getting outs, which is totally fair and a good point, right? It's well taken. The point is he's succeeding. The serious follow-up, though, was if he's throwing low 90s in April, mid-April, then you'd be concerned. Too early now to be worried.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andy. You know, it's just the start, of things here. He's getting used to pitching on regular rest and all that sort of thing, so he's just getting going, and I think that if another month of this would be more of a concern. Obviously, drop in velocity, the guy averaged 95 miles an hour on his fastball last year. A drop in velocity sometimes is an indication that something could be wrong, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there is. I mean, I talked to a scout today, too, who said, not necessarily, it's case-by-case basis. Guys go through these things in spring training, and, I mean, we're talking about March baseball right now, so it's not too big of a red flag.
Now, he did go from 140 innings pitched in 2014 to 216 between the regular season and the playoffs last year. So how will the Mets handle his workload this year?
Well, I mean, I think they're going to be careful a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't, innings limits. I mean, as soon as you say that phrase, everybody goes crazy in Metland. So, I think that they'll be careful with him in terms of taking care. And, they've already started him late in spring training with the rest of the starters, too, because those guys are fatigued as well, coming off of last year and the playoffs and the World Series and everything. So I think that they'll have an eye on it. I mean, I don't think that there's a grand plan to shave innings off these guys. I mean, there comes a point when, you've pitched and you're a starter and you get to go, and that's it.
What are the scouts projecting for Jacob deGrom this year?
All good things, Eamon. He's earned that. A year ago, there were a lot of concerns about Jacob deGrom's health and his durability. You remember, he only was a pitcher since college. I mean, this is a relatively new thing for him. So scouts around the league and teams that were considering trading for deGrom when he was a minor leaguer said, I don't know, I worry about the shoulder. Then he was shut down a couple years ago with the shoulder. So going into last season, the thing you heard was great stuff. Great makeup. You wonder how he's going to hold up. You don't hear those concerns anymore. He pretty much proved it. Having said that, small counterpoint before we get too positive here, we are having this velocity discussion, which means it's something that's happening, which means it's something that's being talked about and asked about. And if nobody is concerned yet, they will be in another couple weeks, as we said. But as of right now, all positive about deGrom.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, they wouldn't have let him pitch. They scratched him from the start last week, and then he threw a bullpen session on the same day. He wouldn't have done that if they were concerned. Today's another thing. I mean, if they saw his velocity in the first inning at 91 and 93, he wouldn't have gone any more innings, and it looked like he did pretty well today.